Well, we're back at the CCA workbench for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Rigs and Techniques, and Rigs and Techniques,
yes,
as you were
man,
saying.
we got them both.
We've got them both with Dave Farrell.
Well, you know, the flounder here in Florida, we love to catch them. You know, it's a kind of a late summer, wintertime fish for us, on the East Coast anyway. When the wintertime comes, the flounder move inshore. They're coming in for that big mullet run that we have. They love to eat little cigar minnows and all the little stuff that's coming out of those creeks. So shrimp, anything that's anything that's flooding through on the tides of the fall, you know, full moon tides, that's what they're wanting to eat.
They're ready.
So they're waiting for it. No, our season is closed from October 15th to November 30th. They'll let some of those big spawning fish, give them a little breathing room, let them go if you catch one accidentally during that time. But they're a great fish. They're really good to eat. They're really aggressive. Usually, if you find them, you're going to get bites out of them. They're, they're pretty hungry fish for some reason. And, you know, they're obviously an ambush predator. They can get down on the bottom and change their colors to any color they want, even on an oyster bed from any color just about, and they disappear.
It's amazing how they can go from sand and looking like the sand to looking like pebbles and rocks.
Exactly.
They are true masters of camouflage.
I think the octopus is the only thing that can camouflage itself better than the flounder. And they can even dig, they'll be actually on sandy bottoms, they'll dig underneath the sand and they'll be covered in sand. So the only thing that's sticking up is their two eyeballs. Yeah. So, for that reason, because they're on the bottom and they're waiting for that stuff, we want to keep everything usually weighted and down close to the bottom. And when we're using baits, a Carolina style rig is the best thing to use.
With a weight and a hook.
With a weight and a hook, either a split shot like that if you're in places where there's not a whole lot of current, or you can use a heavier weight. And actually, I have something called a bobber stopper on this one, which I like to use because you can put your weight however up or far back you need to keep it, and it'll stay there. And if you're like we were talking earlier, if you're fishing in Sebastian Inlet where it's like a giant toilet flushing out of there, really hard current, you're going to want your weight really close to your bait to keep it pretty still down there where those flounder are hanging. Anytime
you're in a heavy current scenario, I've found that by using a leader that's 12 inches or shorter, you seem to catch more fish than 12 inches longer.
Even a knocker rig.
And in lighter current situations, you can go with a little longer rig like this one here, and catch them pretty good.
Like if you're up in an estuary, away from where Tommy's at.
Up in the Northeast region.
And you can even just put a jig head on here and and bounce it along, or drift along and bounce that with a jig head and a paddle tail or a curly tail.
Now you've got a Kale hook on here.
Correct, and that's what you want to use, that TK9 Trocar inshore Kale hook. It's really a great hook for flounders because they have a really odd shaped mouth, a really crooked mouth with a lot of teeth in it. Like Tommy was saying, when they come and eat your bait, especially if it's a live bait, you're going to have to let them chew on it because they kill a bait with those teeth. A lot of the fish that we catch are engulfing fish. They just swallow everything right down. But a flounder, he'll grab a bait, he'll grab a little fish or a shrimp and chew on it. And as he's chewing on it, if you start setting the hook too quick, you're just going to be getting heads back.
And the other thing is how they bite. Like you said, their mouth is sideways. So instead of biting down on the hook in this fashion, they're biting on it in this fashion. So when the hook is a Kale-styled hook, it rolls into their mouth a little better with that bend and that elongated bend in it. It gets into their mouth a little bit better, so that whenever you do come tight on them, you get a more consistent hookup than you do with other style of hooks.
And this is a time when you don't want to be swinging either.
No,
you just want to wind until it feels tight, because a lot of times you'll pull it out of his mouth and he'll run and grab it again.
He's aggressive. He wants that
aggressive.
Yeah.
So if you're not jerking it, then you're not pulling it way away from him. And if you just wind until it comes tight and then he comes out, then you're golden. Now, a lot of the artificial baits we use are mostly jig heads, soft plastics, anything with a paddle tail on it. I love the curly tails as well. That's the Bass Assassin.
This one,
curly shad, and then you've got the Fight Club fish bites. With the curly tail as well. That's the new 5-inch. We're going to talk about it in new products. But anytime you add any kind of scent to these things, it might make them actually hold on a little bit longer. I also like the new PV from Bass Assassin. That thing looks like it's made to catch flounders.
Yeah.
I haven't got to use it for that yet.
But and I love the tips on the tails.
Yeah, the little bouncing thing, bouncing down the bottom. They're going to want to eat that. any of these bucktail jigs, I like to use either that or a pompano jig. The last big flounder I caught was on a tiny pompano jig with a piece of fish bites on it.
Yep.
You know, they
once again that scent.
Yeah, well, it was next to an inlet, nice boat dock with a big boat hanging over a place where it was really deep. So I knew there was one down there, and sure enough, there was. You know,
Had to be.
there was one down there.
Well, good job today. Hopefully you guys and gals get a chance to use some of these techniques and get out there and catch some more flounder.